Welcome back to Channel Chats. Today we are talking to a educational YouTuber with over 32 million views in total on their channel, and they're going to help us learn how to be successful on our channels just like they've been. So, Ali Taylor, thanks for being here.
Hi, Greg. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Interested to
My
chat?
pleasure. We're going to get a ton of value. But before we jump into your journey, I do this with every guest. I want to jump straight into some value for the guests. And I ask this
Yeah.
question every time. Smaller YouTubers creating channels now that you're seeing, what is a common mistake you're seeing the beginners making often these days that are holding them back?
I would say probably the same mistakes I made, which was making content that I thought people would want to watch and that I enjoyed making, whereas not maybe reading the comments and kind of checking out what was being watched. I think first, certainly 2, 3 years for me, there was a lot of me making what I thought was fantastic content, and yet the comments on there weren't backing up that it was value to them. So even though I was enjoying it, and I think it was an important learning curve for me, I think not taking feedback on board, kind of just keeping going, thinking doing the same thing every time was going to give me a different result, which clearly it doesn't.
So, how do you think those beginner, smaller YouTubers actually find out what content their viewers want to watch?
I think you've got to obviously look in your own niche, and look at the creators that are being successful, and not to say you're going to make the exact title that they're doing or use the same thumbnail, but look at kind of the patterns of things that are being watched and kind of say, okay, how can I put my spin and personality into that type of content? Yeah.
Okay, then, well, you're at 117,000 subscribers now. Like I said, you're getting tens of thousands of views on videos regularly, some 2 million view plus videos this year alone.
Yeah.
Let's take that all away for a second. Let's say that you're starting as a brand new YouTuber now, 2023, 0 subscribers. What are you
Yeah.
going to do now, knowing what you know, to get a YouTube channel back to 117,000 subscribers as fast as you can in the best way possible? What's the blueprint?
So I would say the first thing is that because I am actually looking at potentially starting another channel that might not be golf related. So my big thing is watch a lot of content around that area and actually see if
Around
it is something that I
the
feel.
niche you're looking to get into?
Yeah, and see, is it something that if that's what's being watched, am I comfortable making that, and am I going to be passionate making content like that? Because I don't personally feel like if it's a chore to make it. Anyone that knows me will tell you that if it's hard work for me to do it, probably won't get done. So, and then I think what I'd probably try and do is try and reach out to some of the bigger creators, and obviously if they're very busy people, but just kind of say, look, I'm looking to get into this. But from your current area, is there any advice you would still give me? Because I do think you can do similar things niche to niche, but I don't think I can just take exactly what I do in golf and suddenly start making videos about cooking and necessarily translate that across. So I think it's important that you kind of have a support network.
There's going to be different requirements for success
Yeah.
depending on what niche you're in, and you need to learn
Yeah.
those unique requirements
Yeah.
for each niche that you're planning on getting in. Yeah, that makes complete sense. And what you were saying about you're going to research the niche before you get in it to try and find the content
Yeah.
that works. I like that, and it goes back to what you said earlier on, like making sure you're making content that you have evidence that people want to see, rather than just guessing
Yeah.
what content to
Yeah.
make. Yeah. But I've never heard anyone say, I'm going to find the type of content that works in this niche, and if it doesn't align with the type of content that I can see myself making, I'm not going to do it. But that sounds really clever to me, because yeah, if you see what's required for success and you can't see yourself being passionate, fitting in that
Yeah.
box, it makes sense to just kind of draw a line in the sand and move on to the next thing, doesn't it? Like move away from it. Cool. So yeah, me too. That makes complete sense. But going back to what you said, then you're researching the niche and finding the type of content that works in that niche and making
Yeah.
sure that that is content that you can commit yourself to making. That's the first thing you're doing when you're planning out your new channel that's going to get to 170,000 subscribers. Secondly, you said you're going to speak to other experts in that niche. What exactly are you speaking to them for? What are you trying to find out when you speak to them?
I think from my perspective, it'd just be kind of just finding it. They probably won't have a shortcut, but was there a particular strategy? Was there maybe an age group particularly that they aimed at? Obviously, once you start doing your channel, you get some incredible information as to learning what your viewer is like. I wouldn't want to go in and try and make content for 18 to 25-year-olds if predominantly that niche is being watched by more my age group, which is a little bit higher than that. So I think it's important that you understand the audience to then help make whatever the correct content is more for them or for the majority of who are going to be watching it.
So are you asking these industry leaders what the typical audience is in the niche? Is that what you're getting
at?
Yeah,
that would be my thing. Yeah, it'd be kind of like, right, I can see what gets watched and I can see their storytelling or their presentation style. Now, I'm only ever going to tell stories and present how I do. I'm not going to try and be somebody else. But I think obviously the way I would perhaps speak to somebody mid-20s might be different, well, would be different than the way I would potentially present to somebody in their early 50s.
So you're finding this out beforehand, like, is it going to be the right audience for me that I can relate to?
Yeah.
But okay, we're on the 117,000 subscriber new channel path. You've decided the niche you're going to be in. You have looked to see what content already works in that niche, and you've also, if they're open to talking to you, you've reached out to some people doing well in that niche and you've got some tips. Is there anything else in your blueprint, your strategy to building that successful channel you're going to be making sure you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I was very, well, even at my level, I still do it. I think reaching out to people who understand kind of how to draw attention, I mean, obviously like how to make good thumbnails, good titles, how to retain viewership. I mean, I look back at some of my old videos and I think, wow, not surprised people dived out after 30 seconds. But you don't until somebody tells you that, you're not aware of that, because I watch videos that keep me hooked for half an hour. But when you actually understand how they do it, it's so obvious. But if you don't know, you just keep doing the same thing and wonder why nobody stays with you.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know, do you?
No, exactly.
Sweet. Well, I mean, those are amazing pointers for anyone watching this that is like a beginner or starting a channel, like fundamentals to make sure they're checking off their list when they're starting a channel. So thanks for that, Ali. Appreciate your input there. And we mentioned your channel here and there. How about we just jump in and get up, and can you just talk us through your channel and what it's about, and maybe the journey you've gone through to get here and some lessons you've learned maybe on the way?
Yeah, so I think I probably uploaded my channel 10 years ago, but didn't really do anything with it. And then about 9 years ago,
I've got your oldest videos up here.
Oh yeah, please don't click on any of those. So, dreadful. But it was primarily done that I wanted golfers from around the UK to be able to watch content of mine and hopefully go, I like his coaching style. I've tried that video. That's really nice. I could travel and see Ali and have some face-to-face time with him.
We were looking at 9 years ago. Let's jump forward to today. What happened between then and now? What's been the evolution of your content?
I would say the biggest thing I had was I actually had a channel review of Paddy Galloway.
Okay, I've actually had my channel reviewed from him too. Great
service. Yeah, so I had an hour with Paddy, and it was, I think, eye-opening would be an understatement. Some of the things we spoke about still making the same mistake. He pointed some very obvious things out very quickly, and it kind of made it a lot clearer in my head as to not necessarily how I made my content, but then maybe how I edited the video a bit better. So I didn't see a landslide fall away in the first 30 seconds. And I think people got...
He helped you realise how to stop viewers from leaving in those first 30 seconds that they were watching.
Oh, yeah. First 15 seconds, it was like, pull the shoe and they were gone. I was like, I don't know, 15% retention after 30 seconds sometimes. And it's like, well, heartbreaking when it's a 10-minute video.
Yes, it doesn't leave you much people left to get through the remaining 9.5 minutes, does it?
Not when my figures were viewing like they were at that point. So that was very interesting. And, when I was saying before about new people reaching out to bigger channels, I also think people like yourself and like Paddy, I think if you are serious about it being a business, I think you have to speak to people, kind of irrelevant of what it costs as well. You have to speak to people who actually understand how it works. It's I mean, I might be completely wrong here, but it's not just make a video and put it out there and the world magically sends you a million viewers. You know, I'm sure in some niches it might be the case, but certainly my niche, it's not like that. You know, I see some lads putting
Yeah.
some good content out now that nobody's watching, and it's hard. It's really difficult to do that.
I completely agree. Like I said, I had some early successes on my channel, but I had no idea or understanding why that was a success. It just was, and I was like, oh, great,
Yeah,
you know, and I rode that success. It was only about 4 or so years in that I decided to start investing in education and actually bringing in external perspectives and information into this like career and this like pursuit. And when I started getting lessons from other people and just broadening my network, my understanding of YouTube exploded like so much faster than it had in the 4 years previously. Those first 3 months, I feel like I learned more than I did in the previous 4 years.
yeah.
So I disagree. There's so much value in just speaking to experts and other people who have got skin in the game with what you do and learning from them too. 100%.
And I think particularly, I think there's a lot of guys out there now who are marketing themselves as YouTube experts and things like that. I think from my perspective, the reason I went for Paddy at the time I did was I'd watched some of his videos and
It's
liked
getting
his
millions of
delivery, his
views.
style. Yeah, and it was then I kind of looked at some of the tweets he was putting out and kind of, I suppose, built a picture in my head of, you know, this is somebody who isn't just talking the talk, but he's walking the walk. And you know, it was good. And like I said, it was an hour that was just mind blowing. Really, I wish I'd done it probably 3-4 years earlier because I'd be a lot further along with my channel than I am now.
I know there's going to be people watching this screaming at their computer, what did Paddy Galloway tell him to that fix his channel and improved it so much? So can you share some of the lessons or the feedback that Paddy gave you?
Yeah, so I mean, a big thing for, like I said, was the initial 30-second retention thing. I think 10 seconds in, I used to have a beautiful video of my logo would come on the screen for 7 seconds, and Paddy just went, you know, they know it's Ali Taylor video. You know, they know it's you. They've clicked on it. You don't need a 7 second nice musical little interlude. He said it's just 7 seconds when they switch off or scan forward and maybe miss the best bit of the video. So he was like, the first thing I want you to do is take that out and never ever use it again. And I was like, I spent good money on that. But, you know, it was like, yeah, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then it was a case of, you know, have a look at some of your older videos that have done better. And, you know, if it's 2 years old and people are still watching it, could you either remake that video or make something incredibly similar? Because clearly there's a demand for it, which again is like the most obvious thing in the world when you get told it. And you sat there going, wow, it's kind of like 9 years in and I've not noticed that. Yeah. But yeah, he just pointed lots of really obvious things. And then when you go back and watch the bigger creators, you see how fast paced it is. And don't get me wrong, talking about the golf swing can never be Mr. Beast every 10 seconds jumping something different. So you've got to do your bit. But then I kind of watched some of the creators in my niche and kind of went, yeah, okay, I can see how they do more of that with theirs. Because I've always been quite, rightly or wrongly, confident in my ability to talk to the camera and present. So I've always been quite happy with that. But then I suppose when I watch my videos back in editing, I wasn't looking for how interesting I'm finding it. I was kind of just watching to see that there was no mistakes in there. Whereas now when I watch videos, it's a bit like, wow, that 30 seconds there, I've lost the will to live. So that can come out. Because if I don't find it interesting, there's no chance anyone else will.
Oh, yeah.
Because I am
100%.
biased. Yeah, I am biased. I think everything I say is interesting, but if I'm bored with it, it needs to come out. Yeah.
That's one thing I failed to do for a very long time, and I think a lot of people also don't do is we don't watch our own content back and say, would we actually watch this ourselves?
Yeah. I still don't think
I
I do
don't know
it
what
enough.
it is. Yeah, we kind of just get blinders and tunnel vision of we get so invested in the creation process and editing, and we don't have that final review, do we? Of is this something I would watch?
And I think that's important though. Like, you know, like you were saying, like when I had Paddy, and you'll do obviously the same with people with a channel review. You watch their videos, but you watch them with a very different set of eyes. You know, and sometimes when people goes, "Well, that bit there's not great," and you kind of maybe take it a bit personally to begin with, but it's like, Well, no, he knows what he's talking about. So much as I love that logo that I spent money on, it's actually killing my videos, not enhancing it. So everything that doesn't enhance needs to go.
100%, yeah. Yeah. It is hard sometimes, though, isn't it, to do it, to be criticised and to take that
Yeah.
feedback, but we have to do it if we want to improve.
But I think that's the key, isn't it? It is feedback. Try not to take it personally as
Yeah,
criticism, because the ultimate
100%.
criticism on YouTube is people don't watch. Even the people that make horrible comments on my videos, and there's more than one or two of them, I kind of go, well, they've taken the 9.5 minutes to watch the video, then they've taken the time to type it out. So it must have struck a chord somewhere. Otherwise, they just switched off and think, oh, he's not even worth responding to. So yeah, I think you just got to try and learn all the time, don't you? And you have to evolve, and then hopefully your evolvement becomes you being better. But sometimes you evolve by being a bit complacent and getting a bit lazy and kind of just thinking what I was doing 2 years ago still works, and it doesn't sometimes.
We'll be back with more tips from successful YouTubers on how to get more views on YouTube after this quick break. But quickly, check out this Forbes article stating that YouTube ad revenue is down by up to 90% this year. I mean, if we jump over to my analytics, you can see 12 months ago, I was making £652 per month. And 12 months later, I'm down to earning less than 50% of that at just £264 per month. And I'm seeing this with the clients I work with too. This is a big problem. YouTubers are just not earning the amounts they were from ad revenue. And as I speak to more YouTubers on this podcast, they time and time again mention memberships as a reliable, recurring way for YouTubers to earn an income outside of relying on YouTube ad revenue. Here is Jevon Dovy's membership area, for example. He was a guest on this podcast a few months ago, and we can see down here, he's charging $29 a month for access to his membership. So if he just gets 100 of his YouTube viewers to sign up for this, he's now making an additional $29 a month from his YouTube viewers outside of relying on YouTube ad revenue. Yoga with Adrienne is doing the same thing here with her membership site, Find What Feels Good. They've both built their membership sites using today's sponsor, Uscreen, who last year paid out $150 million to creators through membership subscriptions. Crazy. Uscreen gives you premium video hosting, like all of the videos Jevon has uploaded to his membership area, what we can see on screen here. You can even turn that membership area into a branded app, just like Yoga with Adrienne has done here, so that her members can access her video content using whatever device they're currently on. If we jump over to Brandon's membership area, who was also on this podcast, we can see that in his membership area, he is giving his members access to live streams with him every so often. And also there is a private community hosted within his membership site. Community and live streams being two other things that you can do on your membership area that you build using Uscreen. Uscreen knows that the idea of creating your own membership space can be intimidating for YouTubers, and that's why they provide these three things. They pair you with a dedicated success manager who talks you through an exact step-by-step plan of how much revenue you can expect to earn from your membership area and the exact effort required to get your membership space up and running. They've created a resource hub called Membership Plus to help you learn and grow your membership, packed full of video lessons, live workshops with expert creators, and the opportunity to just connect with other creators building a membership like you are. You can join up to that by clicking the link in the description to this video. And finally, if you have a membership already on another platform, then they'll migrate all of your content and your members from that platform over to Uscreen for you. Uscreen stands out to me because memberships is all they do. They're specifically laser focused in making it easy for creators to easily launch memberships. So if you're a YouTuber or video creator interested in creating your own membership, go check them out. The link to them is in the description to this video, and tell them that Greg sent you.
Well, on the topic of evolution, you've had some videos blow up recently. A video made 10 months ago, I'm looking at now, got 2.2 million views so far. I've noticed one thing that stood out to me when I looked at your channel was the titles and the thumbnails. I really like them, and I can explain why I like them later on, but they really stood out to me, and I'd love to just get some insights from you of how you approach titles and thumbnails.
Okay, so let's maybe go thumbnail first, because I think that's obviously the most visual.
Yeah.
The one with 2.2 million, I actually hate the fact that the matte isn't green enough. I might need to change that tonight. I
Okay.
clearly don't pay
That's
enough
this one
attention to
here,
that.
right? Top
Yeah,
left.
so
Yeah.
even though that's, I mean, mind blowing. You know, if I could bottle that, that'd be great. But I think my thumbnails at the start were definitely too busy. They were a bit flat color, way too much text, which was pointed out to me that, you know, you're clearly making your thumbnails on a big screen, you know, and on a
Okay.
28-inch screen looks fantastic. But have you ever looked at your thumbnails on your phone? And I was like, well, no, why would I look at my thumbnails on the phone? And he went, well, think where most people watch your content. And I was like, oh, yeah,
Ah.
maybe that would be a good idea. So, yeah, so it was trying to make it a bit more eye-catching, which I don't necessarily I don't think they're my best ones for eye-catching, but I think it's intriguing that the picture on the left with the club near the ball went 249 yards, but if I move my driver back a few inches, it's 294. So from my perspective, hopefully people look at that and go, oh, I wonder what that is. It can't be that
Yeah,
easy.
it definitely generates a ton of curiosity. Like, what is that difference between the left and the right photo? What impact is it having? Like, why is he holding the club 2 inches further back on the right than the left? And yeah, I need to click this to watch it. That's what's going through the viewer's mind, 100%. I think it's a great
My
curiosity generating thumbnail.
My favorite comment on that video, though, is you say it's a 2 second tip. Why is the video 9.5 minutes long?
Yeah.
And it's like, really? You thought it was going to be a 2 second video?
I love that. Well, yeah, I mean, that leads us into the title there. How did you, like, you might not remember how you came up with that title in particular, but what is your approach to writing titles?
Well, that title particularly was everyone that plays golf wants to hit their driver further. And I'd had
Yeah.
some success with 30 yards extra, 40 yards, 72 yards extra was one of them. And I kind of was a bit, I don't want to over egg it. And it's not clickbait because I can prove what I say on the title. But I think sometimes people look at it and go, well, he's not going to be 72 yards, is he? So then they maybe don't click on it. Where I thought 30 was a nice distance. And everybody likes something that they think takes no effort and it's click the fingers 2 seconds later, they're world class. So I thought,
I
you know
like
what,
that, yeah.
that I think ticks the curiosity box. I'm not actually going to have to work that hard on it. It's like the miracle cure. Obviously, it's very close to a miracle cure, but they still have to do what we talk about in the video, and they need to watch all 9 minutes, 16 seconds to fully benefit from that.
Nice. I like that. That taps into something a couple of other YouTubers have said while I've been interviewing them on this podcast. Is it falls under the concept of giving your videos as broad appeal as possible,
Yeah.
like making it appeal to as broad an audience as you can. And different YouTubers have talked about different strategies of how you can do that, but you kind of tapped into that there. You know, when you've said, I could have written this is going to add 70 or 100 yards to your drives, but you then get people who start to disbelieve it and think that this might be clickbait, or think that they themselves probably couldn't ever add 70 yards to their drives. But by keeping it a more realistic number, you're giving it a broader appeal because more people feel like this is something they could watch and do themselves.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
obviously, that sounds really good for what I've said for that video. I've clearly not managed to replicate the same level of curiosity and on all the videos, but yeah, that one was really eye-opening for me because there probably wasn't as much, I suppose, time went into making that video as I do on some of them, and yet it kind of it aligned everything perfectly with thumbnail, title, good content, and yeah, I just need to get as close to that as I can with tonight's video. But we'll see there, won't we?
The more and more I do this pod and I speak to successful YouTubers, the more I am just even more than convinced. Like, it's part of my fundamental belief that it all starts with idea. Like, a great idea for a video can carry all the other areas of the video being sloppy. And let's keep it moving. We mentioned thumbnails and that you were making them way too busy at the start, and that's something you try not to do now. You mentioned briefly something to do with color and the color of the mat. As we look through more of your thumbnails, could you maybe just give us kind of more principles you try and stick to, or boxes that you try to tick when you're making a thumbnail?
Yeah, and I think definitely the big thing early on with my thumbnails is I don't think you would see a thumbnail and maybe know it was mine. And I don't think I'm quite there with it yet, but I think there's certain certain thumbnails you can look at, and if you've watched some of my content, you probably suspect that's one of my videos.
Okay, so I've just moved to I've sorted your videos by recent to see most latest videos, and yeah, already I can see a similar font that you're using in these top two. Similar fonts, yeah. Red arrows, white text. Yeah, I definitely see some branding across these that kind of suggest that they're an Ali Taylor thumbnail. And you're saying you weren't doing this or even thinking about this at the start of your channel?
Oh no, I mean I had no concept whatsoever that the font I used might actually draw people's eyes to mine, or the fact that I'm using something incredibly basic, that a thumbnail next to mine by somebody else that could be very similar, but they're just a bit more aware of that kind of thing. People are going to click on that because that's where their eyes are drawn to.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so you're thinking about this on a much more granular level and on a branding level and on a competing for attention level. Yeah.
Oh, it's all about attention, though, isn't it? All about attention.
It is. What I think is great about your thumbnails when I was looking through them is there's like visual storytelling involved in them. Like you can look at your thumbnail and in an instance kind of understand or a story that's being told through the thumbnail and the story that you're going to expect to get when you watch the video.
Yeah.
Like this video here, tool proven, like it takes me a split second to understand that I'm probably going to be watching a video where a golfing technique is being taught that has been used on golfing tours and has been proven as successful. And I can tell that in an instance where I think a lot of YouTubers fall flat here, where they don't try and bake that understandability into their thumbnails when people have a quick glimpse of their thumbnail. So I think you do a really great job there. Is that something you try to do?
Yeah. I think golf's quite a tough one, that if your thumbnail, clickbait's not the right word, but if your thumbnail looks like one thing and as you start talking it's completely the other, I think unless you've got a huge following, I think you're done. People are like, oh, it's not about what I thought it was, and they're gone. So I kind of do like to make my thumbnails, like I said, I suppose I hadn't thought it that way, but kind of tell a little bit of the story.
Yeah.
In that snapshot.
One thing I will ask is, it would be very easy for a channel like yours to just have a title, have how-to titles for every video. How to hit a ball further, you've kind of used a how-to title here, how to stay down in the golf swing, but then other things could be like how to hit the golf ball more than X yards. You can see how little I play golf myself, but it's very easy when we're making educational channels to just think I'm going to write a how-to title, but you're clearly not doing that all the time. So I just kind of wonder, are you getting inspiration from titles from somewhere, or using templates or guides from anywhere?
I think obviously I have ideas myself. I do look around and see what some of the other lads are kind of doing on YouTube, and again, a bit like I said about the sharing information thing, I think it's just because somebody's made a video on a particular subject about the golf swing, I think I could use a similar title, a similar thumbnail, but completely be me about it. Because there's only so many things you can talk about the golf swing. And that 2 million video I've got was interesting. One of the lads that's quite a lot bigger than me actually rang me and said, would you mind if I made my version of that? And I was like, absolutely. And feel free that if I ever have another big one, don't ring and ask me, do it. Because if somebody watches yours that hasn't watched mine, YouTube will probably recommend mine.
Yeah.
And I did point out that they'd obviously much prefer watching me than him, so that'd be fine.
Of course, naturally.
I won't name him, so it's fine.
Cool. So yeah, you're looking at what else is working in your niche, looking at kind of sentences and ways that certain titles are capturing attention and creating curiosity, and using them for inspiration on yours too.
Yeah, I think the what's being watched obviously becomes like more of the trend. So, but I think golf, it's obviously a very short shelf life for something that's trend, whereas hopefully a lot of my videos are quite evergreen. And if they happen to be trendy initially, that's great because that's that initial boost. But a lot of those videos guys could watch in 10 years time and it'll still be very relevant and will still improve their golf.
Yeah, 100%. A mistake a lot of YouTubers make, I believe a lot of YouTubers make this mistake, is they build their channel too heavily around trending topics. So they might get a ton of views in the first week or two after they release a video, but then that video dies off and it's dead in the water for the rest of the time it's on YouTube. Whereas, if you build a channel in the way you have, videos that could be watched today or could still be watched in 10 years' time and be equally as interesting and equally as valuable to the viewer, you're compounding your efforts, aren't you? The work you're doing today is still going to be benefiting you in 10 years, and all the work you've done in between that is going to be benefiting you too. So you're going to be miles ahead than the person that's just been chasing trends every day for those 10 years.
Hopefully, and I hope kind of what the YouTube stuff is giving me the opportunity to do now is, I've been taken out to America to coach some clients, having watched it, which I would have never dreamt would have happened. But it also gives me the opportunity to potentially sell digital content, which again, all the stuff will be free on YouTube, but it can be difficult going through 1,500 videos, trying to find that one that might be what you need. Whereas if I am making some digital packages, that is just a different revenue stream for me, and again, it's still doing what I love, coaching, and it's just packaging it differently and maybe on a different platform. And there'll be people that will go on that platform that probably never go on YouTube, but the guys that go on YouTube that feel they don't want to pay because they can find similar content on YouTube for free, again, that's great. I put everything out there, and I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, that's a model that a number of the YouTubers I've spoken to on this podcast are following. All the information on YouTube, mainly more general top-level information on YouTube. And then if people want to continue through from watching their YouTube videos to their more structured, linear, kind of detailed lessons, the YouTubers have digital products that their viewers can go ahead and purchase as the next step. And it seems like a great model to follow as a YouTuber.
Yeah, I think if there's demand for it, it's obviously worth doing, isn't it?
Yeah, and if there's any people watching this that want to get better at golf, they now know where to go. Go to your YouTube channel and keep an eye out for your products that come out in the future.
Exactly, it'll be there shortly. Should already be out, but it'll get there.
Awesome. All right. We could have a whole conversation around the business side of YouTube, but to respect your time, we'll leave it there. But thanks very much for that, Adi. That was so useful. I always get a ton of value from these calls, speaking to YouTubers like yourself that are doing great. There's always a new perspective to hear or a new experience to learn from. So, really appreciate you being here. Super valuable.
No, thank you for having me on.
All right, Adi. Thanks a lot for that.
Brilliant.
Really appreciate that.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you've made it this far, tune in to the next episode of Channel Chats in a couple of weeks for more of the same. I'll see you there.